It was an October night when I realized I could no longer pretend. It wasn't a scream, not a cry, not even a word spoken in anger. It was silence. That kind of silence that comes after something inside you cracks, and no one else hears it. He was sitting beside me on the sofa watching TV, but not really seeing it. His fingers brushed mine accidentally, or maybe not. For the first time in years, I didn't pull away because that night, for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilt. I felt warmth, and that scared me more than any confession ever could. My name is Isabella. I'm 42, mother of two, widowed since I was 34. My husband died in a car accident when Lucas was just 7 and his sister Lucia only 3. Since then, I've been both mother and father, cook, accountant, comforter, protector. I've slept with the weight of his absence pressing on my chest. I loved my children like they were the only reasons I kept breathing. And for years, that was enough. But lately, life started feeling like something was missing, like maybe I had forgotten what it was to be just a woman. And that's when Adam started coming around more often. Adam had been my husband's closest friend since childhood. He was there at the funeral when I thought I wouldn't survive the day. He was there when I had to sell the old car because I couldn't afford the repairs. He was there when the roof leaked in the middle of winter and I had no idea what to do. He fixed things, carried heavy boxes, helped with bills I couldn't pay on time. For years he was like family, almost like the brother my husband never had. But something shifted. The first time I noticed it was 3 months ago. I was in the kitchen wearing only a robe, picking up clothes off the floor. I wasn't thinking about anything at all when he walked in without knocking, a book under his arm. He stopped. Just stopped and looked at me. Not like a neighbor or a friend. Not like a man doing a favor. He looked at me like he saw me for the first time in years. Like he'd been searching for something his whole life and had finally found it. I said nothing. He said nothing. He left. But that night, as I lay in bed, I still felt his gaze on my skin as if he'd never left the room at all. After that, I began noticing things I hadn't before. How he lingered a moment longer than necessary when handing me a coffee mug. How he stood a little too close when we talked. How his eyes sometimes softened like he wanted to say something but didn't. I told myself it was nothing. It was grief. It was loneliness. It was my fault for reading into things. I raised my kids alone, spent years locked inside the role of mother, worker, survivor. Maybe I forgot how to talk to men like men. Maybe he was just being kind. But then came that Sunday afternoon. I was washing dishes when he came up behind me. He didn't hug me. Didn't touch me. Just rested his forehead against my shoulder for the briefest moment, his warm breath grazing my neck. And I didn't move. Didn't push him away. Didn't say a word. I stood there, still as stone, feeling every beat of his heart echo through his chest into my back, every wave of heat rolling off his body. My heart became a drum. My mind a battlefield. This is wrong. This is too much. This is dangerous. But my body didn't want him to move. That night I didn't sleep. I lay on my back, hands over my chest like I could hold back what I felt. I thought of my husband, his laugh, the smell of tobacco and coffee on his skin, the way he kissed my forehead before leaving for work. Would he have understood? Would he have forgiven me? I didn't know. What I did know was this: since that night, every moment with Adam became a silent storm. A war between the life I had built and the feelings I didn't want to name. It started small. Coffee left by my bedside before I woke up. A blanket tucked around me when I fell asleep on the sofa. A random comment, "You look beautiful today." He didn't say it like a casual compliment. He said it like a confession, like a secret he wasn't supposed to tell. I answered with polite smiles, empty words. "Thank you. How was work? Want more tea?" But inside I was screaming, "Stop. Please stop. You can't do this. I can't let myself." Then came the day everything changed. It was Sunday again. Rain poured outside. The house was empty. My daughter was away at college. My son was out of town for a trip. I was in the garden picking up fallen leaves, hair damp from the wind. He appeared behind me without a word, took off his jacket, placed it gently over my shoulders, his fingers brushing my neck like lightning. I turned slowly, looked into his eyes. There was no doubt in them. No confusion. Only decision. "Isabella," he whispered, voice shaking. "I need you to tell me something." I froze. Rain dripped down his face. His eyes weren't wet from the rain. They were wet from tears. "What?" I menaced. I didn't answer. I couldn't. "Have you noticed I'm not the same man you thought I was?" The air turned to glass. Every breath hurt. "Adam!" I started. Don't tell me it's wrong. He cut me off. Don't tell me it's a mistake. Don't tell me I can't feel this. Just tell me the truth. Do you feel it too? I broke. Not outwardly, but inside, like someone pulled all my bones out and left me floating in a fog of fear and longing. No, I whispered. You can't be saying this? Yes, I can. And yes, I must. If I don't say it now, I'll carry it forever. Every day I'm near you and don't touch you, it kills me a little more. I sank to my knees. Not from weakness. From need. I needed to feel the ground, to remember I was still real. This is impossible, I said. No, he replied. It's the only thing that's real. He knelt in front of me, our eyes level. Rain on our faces. Tears mixed with water. What do you want from me? I asked, voice breaking. I don't want to just be the man who fixes your leaky pipes, Isabella, he said softly. I want to be the man who stays, who sees you, who holds you when the world feels too heavy. That woman who laughs when she's tired, who sings while cooking, who carried the whole world on her shoulders after losing everything. She hasn't disappeared. She just forgot she was allowed to be loved. I covered my face with my hands. Not to hide my tears, to hide them from him. Because if he saw them, he'd know I wanted it too. And I did. God help me, I did. That night I didn't eat, didn't sleep. Sat on the edge of my bed, knees drawn up, hugging myself like I might fall apart. When I came downstairs the next morning, he was gone. On the table was an envelope, my name on the front. 10 pages inside. Handwritten, stained with tears. I didn't open it right away. When I finally did, the first line said, if you're reading this, it's because I couldn't say it to your face. Not because I'm afraid of you, because I'm afraid of what I'll do if I see you and don't touch you. I read every word. Words about love. About loneliness. About how he saw me not as someone broken, but as someone alive. About how he didn't want to leave but would if I asked him to. And at the end, one sentence cut through everything. If you feel nothing, tell me to go, and I will. But if you feel even a fraction of what I feel, ask me to stay. I sat there for a long time, letter trembling in my hands, rain still hitting the windows like the night before. Because for the first time in so long, someone saw me. Not as a mother, not as a widow, as a woman. And I didn't know whether to run or finally stay. It started on a rainy evening when the whole world felt like it was carrying too much sorrow. The kind of evening where the clouds hang low, where the streets shine under the weight of water, where the wind presses itself against windows like it's looking for someone to comfort. In that house on the corner, behind the old iron gate and the tired walls, she sat in a chair by the window, staring out, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea that had long gone cold. She had known him for years. He wasn't a stranger, not by any stretch. He had been there through everything. He was her husband's closest friend, the one who came over for dinners, who fixed things when they broke, who helped paint the fence when time and weather wore it down. He had been there when her husband fell sick, there when the laughter in the house began to fade, there when the final silence came, leaving her with an emptiness she didn't know how to carry. At first, his visits after that were simple. Kind. Nothing unusual. He would bring groceries, help with repairs, ask if she needed company. He spoke little, mostly letting her sit in her grief the way people sometimes do when words feel too small for the weight someone else is carrying. But slowly, almost quietly, something began to shift. It wasn't in the things he said. It was in the pauses. The way his eyes lingered just a second longer than before. The way his hand brushed hers when passing a plate. The way he sometimes looked like he was about to say something but swallowed it back, keeping it locked inside like a secret too heavy to let out. She felt it, though she tried not to. She told herself it was just kindness, just care, just the way someone behaves when they don't want to see you fall apart. But deep down, in the place where loneliness whispers louder than logic, she knew something had changed. It scared her. Not because it was wrong the way people might think, but because it was unexpected. She had buried her heart along with her husband. She had convinced herself that part of her life was over, that love was a door closed long ago. Yet here was this man, someone she had known for half her life, looking at her in a way that made her chest ache in a way she hadn't felt in years. One night, after too much tea and too little conversation, he stayed longer than usual. The rain was falling hard, making it impossible for him to leave. They sat there, the sound of water filling the silence between them, until he finally said her name in a way that made it feel different. He told her he didn't plan it, didn't expect it, Didn't even want it at first. But somewhere between fixing her fence and helping her carry the groceries inside, his heart had betrayed him. She didn't answer. Couldn't answer. The house felt too small for the weight of what he had just said. She heard the rain against the windows, felt the warmth of the teacup in her hand, and tried to steady the storm now raging inside her chest. When he left that night, she didn't stop him. But when she closed the door behind him, she leaned against it for a long time, as though her body had to hold up the walls themselves. Days passed. Neither of them spoke of it again. He still came by, still helped with the small things, still lingered in doorways as though waiting for something neither of them knew how to name. And she, in her quiet way, pretended nothing had changed, even as the air between them grew heavier each time they were alone. Then came the letter. He left it on her porch one evening when she wasn't home, just a folded piece of paper with her name written carefully across the front. Inside, the words were messy, rushed, like someone had poured out a heart that didn't know how to stay contained. He wrote that he knew it was complicated, knew she had her grief, knew the timing was wrong, the history too tangled. But he also wrote that he hadn't felt this alive in years. That somewhere between her silence and her strength, between the sadness in her eyes and the way she kept moving forward, even when life had taken so much from her, he had found something he didn't even know he was looking for. She read it twice, 3 times, each time slower than the last. Then she folded it back up and tucked it into a drawer, as though keeping it close but unseen would make it easier to ignore. But ignoring it didn't work. Because the next time he came by, the next time he stood there on her porch, with the same careful smile and the same quiet eyes, she felt something crack inside her. Not a big crack. Not the kind that breaks everything apart. But the kind that lets light in where it hadn't been before. She didn't tell him that night how much the letter had shaken her. She didn't tell him how many times she had unfolded it just to read his handwriting again. But when he reached for her hand as she handed him a cup of tea, she didn't pull away either. And that small thing, that tiny act of not pulling away, was how everything slowly began. It wasn't sudden. It wasn't loud. It was 2 people standing at the edge of something terrifying and beautiful, not sure if they were about to fall or fly. There were nights she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, asking herself what she was doing. There were mornings she almost told him not to come by anymore, afraid of the way her heart sped up at the sound of his truck in the driveway. But there were also moments, small, stolen, quiet moments, where she felt something like warmth creeping back into her life after years of nothing but cold. And maybe that was why, one evening when the rain returned and the world outside felt washed clean, she finally told him to stay. Just stay, not to talk, not to explain, just to sit with her while the storm raged outside and the one inside her finally began to calm.